Welcome back. Time has come. We're going to start working on the electrical. Floor's done, door's done. We need to get this done so we can put in some insulation in these walls. So, as you can see, this old one only had a spot for 2 breakers. We're upgrading to a 125 amp square D breaker box, breaker panel. We're not going to end up using all the spaces in it. I'm only going to be running a 60 amp breaker to this, which is 4 gauge wire. So I'll be running the 4 gauge here in the next couple of days. But for now, I just want to get it mounted into the studs, make sure it's placed right, and move these wires over, get everything. I think you've got to be, I think maybe I need to be here. I believe I need to have at least like 3 feet clearance on both sides. So I think it needs to go about right here and no more than about 6 feet tall. So right in this area somewhere here is where the panel is going to be. So some of this I may end up needing to make a jumper for, because I don't think this line is going to be long enough to go all this way and then back up here. This one is going to be just fine. But instead of me talking and everything, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. And I'm going to move some stuff out of the way. So this panel comes with a bonding screw that I will not be using. This is going to be in a separate building. So I'm going to be running its own ground right here. I believe anytime you're running a sub panel in a separate building, you have to run its own ground. So that's what I'm going to do. Not today, but it will be getting done soon. Like I said, main focus today is just to get this panel up. Comes with a lot of extra slots. We won't be using them all, like I said. So for now, we'll just keep right on moving with what we got. So I need to figure out the depth on the sides to mount flush with the drywall when it goes up. I'm going to be going with 5/8 drywall. So whatever, I think I need to make it even with that gap if I'm not mistaken. So that's what I'm going to do. Might look that up right quick just to make sure, but I believe I need to get this at the like at a 5/8 gap all the way around. So yeah, I'm going to go with that next. So we're in. I'm not sure. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to install as far as being up or down. I know a lot of times I see this up here rather than down here. I know a couple of times I have seen guys who did install it this way. I'm going to be using the knockouts here to bring my 4 gauge line up through to connect to the neutral and the 2 hots. So it's just easier since everything's coming up through the floor to go this way. So this 125 amp panel comes with 2 grounding bars. I'm going to install both of them. Now you do have an option where they have like 2 dimples that you could make sure they're lined up with those 2 dimples, and then once they're seated they won't move around and you can just screw it in with the center screw. I'm not going to do that. I'd rather screw it into, put 2 screws into these holes here and call it done. So that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I realized I probably should let the screw in while I'm doing this. So for this portion, it's obvious that this was running all of the outlets. It looks like, yeah, tracing from this side to that side, it looks like it was running all of these outlets starting from this position all the way up and around to there. So I know that one runs outlets. I believe this one was running the lights. So I'm going to trace that right quick just to make sure it is actually going to the lights. Okay, so yeah, this Romex was definitely running off to the lights. It runs along this wall and up to the switch box, and it is then split off into from 12.2 to 14.2 running this way, which, you know, most of that was cut down when I removed the ceiling. Question comes to mind. Does anyone happen to know how much of the sheathing you're supposed to cut back? Do you cut it all the way back to here, or just enough to do what you need to do? I think in most panels I've seen that the sheathing is cut all the way back to here. Perhaps I should do the same thing. Guess I got lucky. I didn't even cut the paper. And it's at all possible I really don't need to make a jumper to go across. I think once ground is bonded here, it's automatically grounded here. But from my understanding, a little extra grounding isn't going to hurt anything. It's just going to be extra bonded. So the Romex that connects the lights isn't quite long enough to make it up to the panel. I believe what I'm going to have to do is make a junction box and run my line from there. What I think I'm going to do is go ahead and connect here and then purchase a junction box tomorrow and connect it there. So I'm going to go ahead and at least run that jumper now and have that done for the night. So this part is all I can really get done for the night. I'm going to go ahead and install one of these gang boxes on that wall over there, above one, just a few feet above another one that's already another outlet that's already in that section. It's going to be where I'm going to be installing the TV, so I'd like to go ahead and bring that box up to the level so I don't have to run anything behind the wall later on. We got the panel up. We got at least part of the wires connected, and I'm still late on running the lights for the lights. Brain is kind of scrambled. It's all over the place right now, which I will reveal why in the future. Not this video part, but yeah, I will tell you soon. So you may want to stick around for that. But this is where it's going to be for the night, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. So, it's the next day. I'm going to pick up right where we left off. And just realized I didn't bring my screwdriver, so I'll be right back. So, to continue, screwdriver. Have some kind of proper tool today to get this done. So, back to it. I'm going to get these breakers wired in. So, the next question is, should I put this on the right or on the left? I know it doesn't really matter, but I don't know. I'm favoring the left for some reason, so that's where I'm going to put it. Okay, so I don't have the 10-2. I believe it's 10-2 that I'm going to need for the mini split. I haven't gotten that yet. So even after I get this done, I'll still need to wire that in and run it down and outside. So unfortunately, I've got to put a junction box into this just because of me having to reroute some of this. Uh, it's going to be sitting a little higher than what I'd prefer it to be at, but I can't get away with it being any lower because I wasn't thinking at the time, and I didn't make my jumper long enough to go that far. So I'm going to put it about right here. I think somewhere this will run just fine. Unfortunately, running the junction box, since this is just really where I'm going to be splicing lines, you can't just hide them in the wall and cover it up. It has to have a cover plate and all of that, so it has to show. I'd rather it didn't, but it is the way it is, so we're just going to roll with it. Now, I know I've seen some guys take a hammer and just do a couple of whacks and they're finished. I don't do that. I normally give a few taps at a time. I could probably be a little too heavy-handed and overdo it and break something, and I'd rather not go through all that trouble. So tap, 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 tap. I know it's probably a little more exertion, but I'd rather do it that way just to make sure everything's straight and I'm not going to end up breaking something in the process. Okay, so the junction box is wired in. As you can see, I used a couple of the ideal push-in wire connections. I'd love to try some Wagos, but I didn't have time to order any. So I just used these. And seeing as how it's right there in a junction box that I will be able to have access to, I could always swap them out later. Which I may end up doing. So I took the ground and all I did was really just twist the ends of the ground together. I didn't really see too much point in using that, and really gave those two ground wires as much contact as I could give them. So from this point, I need to go ahead and start wiring in. Well, before I get started wiring everything in the ceiling, I need to go ahead and get ceiling fan placement taken care of and find that center. So it's going to require some moving around a bunch of junk, but it needs to be done so we can go ahead and get the ceiling fan mount centered up. And I had to use a calculator to find the middle point of that, which is 128. So 128 is right here. So what I need to do is get a measurement this way to see if we come out about the same. And since the door is at a 45 to the what would be the corner over here, I don't really have a center to measure from. So I did my best to measure the center of that 45 and run my diagonal. So I need to see where that line was for the 128 that way. And if we still take into account that it should be the same over there, 128 here and 128 this side. So this area right here is about our center. In which case now I can take my laser, stick it in the center, and look up, and we should get an idea where the center, or close thereabouts, where the center of, let's see, or the center of the room is. And it looks like you can tell from this angle that we are dead center with our box. This is over as far as it will go. So we got lucky. So all I'm going to do now is just tighten this down. That will lock it in place. And seeing as how I went in and put the mount in for the fan, might as well start right here with the Romex, where the switch is going to be at, and start running it along. Alright, so fan's wired in. I should say placement for the fan is wired in. Next, I'm going to be working on wiring in for recessed lights. I'm going to do 6 lights, 3 here and 3 here. What I really need to do is figure out placement for those before I even run the rest of the Romex. I guess I'm going to try to center those to something similar in the way I did with the ceiling fan bracket. Let's just see how that goes. So after a little bit of thinking, I think I will go with the 3 facing running down this way. Since this area is basically going to be the focal point anyway, having the lights run down, kind of something similar to like being in a movie theater, even though this isn't going to be used for a theater type room. But there will be a TV here. So I think running the lights this way might be okay. Um, I guess I'll find out later whether that comes back to bite me in the rear end. But at least for now, this is my intention. I'm going to run them this way. So I guess all I need to do now is just go ahead and measure everything out. So everywhere that I leave a little slack, like right here, this is where one of the lights is going to go. So I just want to go ahead and leave some slack here, so when I go to wire it in, I'll have plenty to go with. So that Romex didn't go nearly as far as I thought it would, so I'm going to need to purchase at least another 50 feet, finish off the section that goes up here, plus the few areas where I have to throw in a couple of junction boxes. But that's going to be it for tonight. I really want to get all of this electrical work done, including running the main power from the house. I wanted it done this week, hopefully by Thursday. Today's Tuesday, so if we're able to finish up with the Romex tomorrow, get all the jumpers run, get the remainder of the boxes in, the fixtures set up straight, then Thursday I should be able to run that main power line out here, if all goes well, which I hope it does, because I really want to be done with this by Thursday. I need to be done with this by Thursday. But that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow. So it's the next day. We're going to pick up right where I left off, where we were running for the Halo LED lights. I also picked up some more 12-2 to go on that, since we ran out of it last night. And while I was picking that up, I also went ahead and got the 10-2 that I needed for the 25 amp breaker that's going to the mini split unit. Well, it's going to run to a service disconnect, and then from the disconnect it'll run to the mini split. So, but that's going to be at a later time. I may run from the breaker to where the disconnect is going to be tonight, but as far as installing the disconnect, that'll be another day. But we're going to go ahead and get started right here. And Alright, so placement for the lights are done. Placement for the fan is done. Next thing is to go around and add the couple extra outlets that I need and the junction boxes that I'm going to be needing as well. So we'll go ahead and get that done right now. So a couple of days I installed this box. This is where, I believe I said once before, this is where I'm going to be placing the TV. So I wanted to go ahead and run that power up higher. There is an outlet below that I'm going to be pulling from. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a length maybe to about right here and just pull the remainder out and use the Romex that I have left over to run the jumper up to this box. So with those two additional outlets installed, that gives me a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait a minute. Let me try that again. Something seemed off about my count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that's a total of 10 outlets on a 20 amp breaker, which I believe is well within its limits. That, I need to take a look around and make sure, but I believe that's all that I need to do as far as wiring any Romex into the rest of the pool house. I believe all I have left now is the 10-2 to run to the disconnect for the mini split. I'm not wiring any of the outlets up at this time. I have them, but I'm going to hold off on that for the moment. Just in case if anybody's wondering, with the size of this pool house, I'm going to be using a 18,000 BTU Mr. Cool unit. 3rd gen actually, not a 4th gen. It's a little cheaper, and there's not too many features versus the 3rd gen to the 4th gen that I really care about. So I'm just going to stick with the 3rd gen. Yep, everything's wired in. I'm trying not to second guess myself on it. Well, I should second guess myself on some of this stuff. But I believe everything here is in order and placement where I need it to be before I start putting any insulation in. What I want to go ahead and do is get that 10-2 run from the board down. Initially, tomorrow was going to be the day that I ran power from the 60 amp breaker from inside the house out here. I'm not sure that that's going to happen. I think I'm going to end up digging the trench tomorrow. I still need to grab some of the conduit that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using PVC conduit to run underground. So I think I need to concentrate on getting that area dug up first, because I can see myself getting exhausted pretty quick on that. So I'd rather go ahead and get that part out of the way and I really should before I start trying to run any wires. That way, everything's prepped, everything's set up. I have my PVC laid out, and all I have to do then is just run everything in. So that's what I'm gonna do. But for now, let's just go ahead and get started on this 10-2. This stuff is rather expensive. I think for 15 feet was like $50. So yeah, thankfully the disconnect is just going to be on the other side of this wall, so I really only need to run just a couple of feet down and then out. I'm not going to drill for anything today. That's going to be a later time before I get started on the insulation. But yeah, this is where it's going to go, just right through here. But really all I'm going to do for the time being is just wire this up and leave the rest of the slack on the floor. We virtually got everything wired up inside. Um, Now we really just need to focus on getting that trench dug and getting the conduit and the wiring from in the house out here. So that'll be the next step. I'll start doing the trench tomorrow, so I'll see you then.